Hello.
Hello, good evening, everybody. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get this party started. There is a lot that we have to discuss tonight. So first, let's talk about social equity program eligibility. As we saw, there are always some people who um, that we may not know eligibility verification qualifications or criteria. So I'm going to briefly start with that, and then we'll go into our prompts. And so the social equity program is available to individuals verified by the department as social equity uh, individual applicants. Verified individuals must meet certain criteria as outlined, that is on this slide. The verification for the original period closed. Approximately 1,600 individuals were verified through that process. To determine if you're part of that group of 1,600, you can log into your Acela ACA Citizen Access account and look under Account Management. Based on the feedback from stakeholders and an expanded social equity analysis. Again, this is why your input is very crucial to this program. City Council established expanded eligibility criteria. The expanded analysis recommended that the definition of disproportionately impacted area be changed from zip codes to approve amending section 104.20B of the code to redefine those disproportionately impacted areas as based on 151 police reporting districts as identified in that analysis, which is online. Also, the definition of low income was amended to consider assets and household size. And then using this expanded eligibility criteria, social equity applicant means any individual who meets two of the following three criteria. And you can see that on the left-hand side: low income, cannabis arrest or conviction, or 10 years of residency in one of those now redefined disproportionately impacted areas. One thing to note, however, is to if it and when we open phase three retail round one, in order to participate in that. And to apply for the remaining licenses available in community plans areas that have not reached undue concentration, applicants must be an individual with a prior cannabis conviction or arrest, and then one of the two that are below. So, in order for to be considered for retail phase three retail round two, you have to have the cannabis conviction or arrest one, and then either low income or 10 years residency in a disproportionately impacted area. So, additionally, all social equity applicants will also need to go through a separate entity verification process to ensure that their business application meets the necessary equity share requirements. The equity share requirements detail the social equity applicant must have a specified minimum percentage, either 51 or 33 and a third percentage of equity share in the business entity applying for licensure. This includes unconditional ownership of the equity share, profits, dividends, distributions, voting rights, and control. All owners are required to incorporate the following addendum, which is in this it's online under licensing, under application documents, and procedures and documents, but it has the addendum in there. But we have developed these resources to provide additional information on the requirements around entity verification. We have that procedure bulletin. If DCR identifies any clear violation of the equity share requirements, DCR may require applicants to explain or amend the agreement, provided that DCR provide its DCR before a license can be issued. So again, that is a piece of it. And so let's go ahead and just jump right into this. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Ms. Smith and the MBI team so we can launch the whiteboard and get these questions started.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Plummer. So to get the ball rolling, the first question is, in the future, DCR will be releasing programming for social equity applicants. Do you have feedback or any other eligibility criteria that should be considered or included?
Hi, my name is Fanny.
Oh, it looks like you just muted yourself.
Hi, my name is Fanny Avendano. I'm with Latinos for Cannabis, and we've been actually in support of social equity from the very commencement, before Ms. Packer was even the executive director. So we have been following and advocating for this. can you explain what the asterisk on tier 3 means?
That actually is no longer a qualification. I would look more so at the new qualification criteria. And what we want to know specifically, and I heard during the stakeholder comment period about wanting to include a race factor or designation. I feel like there might be a thing with um, like in California, the constitutionality of that. So what we're looking to get through is what would you want to see expanded or added to the current criteria, which is, and I'm going to just share my screen really briefly, Laura, and go back. So the new criteria based on the expanded analysis is you have to have 2 of the 3. But in order to apply for phase 3 retail round 2, you would need to have the cannabis conviction or arrest and one of these 2 additional criteria. Laura, feel free to go over and take the share over again.
So is that what the asterisk means? I'm sorry, I'm still confused.
Yeah, tier 3 is that those phases or that verification period is closed. So
yeah, I mean I'm aware of phase 2, tier 3, and how it ended up being. I'm very aware of what happened. Where can we find the agreement that the city is supposed to have with the tier 3 operator?
If you wouldn't mind emailing me specifically at cannabisnews@lacity.org, I can get you the answer to that. I just don't want to monopolize the time because we have a few more hands if there are recommendations. But with the questions, definitely email me at cannabisnews@lacity.org.
Hey, Raina, I'm going to interject. Good afternoon. This is Kat Packer. The asterisk is specifically intended to represent that these folks are no longer considered social equity applicants. When the ordinance was originally passed, tier 3 applicants were considered social equity applicants. There were subsequent changes to the ordinance that did not negate what the applicants' requirements were, but just in terms of title, we're no longer considering them to be social equity applicants. So I know that you had raised questions about the tier 3 agreements and the requirements. Mm-hmm. And just so you know, it is our intention to implement the tier 3 requirements before the end of the calendar year. And so I know that was the question, but the asterisk specifically is just representing that those folks are no longer considered social equity applicants. The call of the question for the prompt this evening is how do you recommend that eligibility verification be amended? If there's specific eligibility criteria that folks on this call have feedback on, that's what we're seeking to collect information at this time. But I appreciate the question, Fanny, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
Next, hello. So next, we're going to go to E. McMillan for your comment regarding that question that we had.
Yes, hello, thank you. I think the eligibility should be expanding to family members of those that were affected by the war on drugs, arrested, but only to the areas of that were disproportionately impacted areas. So not family members anywhere, but specifically those family members that have residency in areas that are considered impacted areas. Only those family members, I believe, should have access to participate in the next round of licensing, the lottery.
Great, thank you. And we'll take a couple more, then we'll move on to the next question. Mr. Crutchfield.
Yes, my name is Daryl Crutchfield, and I have a comment mixed with a question. Now, I believe something should be done for people that were already verified, because it's like, let me speak for myself. I've been verified since August of 2019, and I didn't receive no help according to what was said was going to be help with me as a tier 1 and tier 2 applicant. I received not one shred of help. I have emails to show you that I contacted the office, and I was told it was nobody to help me. So I believe my comment, I believe is something should be done for those that was trying and didn't get no help. I mean, just to be fair.
Great, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to Mr. Edwards.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're just going to modify. You just want some input to modify what's coming, not what already passed. Is that a good statement?
Yes, we want to see what changes you would want to see to the eligibility criteria.
I just feel like the first part of it you did, phase 3, round 1, you have no vetting. I don't know what vetting that you even use for that process. It's like a first come, first serve, and you got 800 people in there. I'm a tier 1. I was arrested when I was 17. So I'm trying to figure out why I didn't get in that first 200. And is there anybody in there that is don't have no convictions and no arrests? But now, because now you're doing it in the next round, you're taking those out that are qualified for social equity, that went in there for retail, but then you switched it up. So I just feel like we need to deal with the first phase 3, round 1, before we go ahead and start slaughtering everybody else in the next round, because it's not fair. It's not even fair for me to have a cannabis conviction and then somebody else that has less than me can get a license before me. So I think we need to work on phase 3, round 1 before we go to the next ones.
Gotcha. Mr. Edwards, that's exactly what we're hoping to be able to get feedback from folks on. When you describe the vetting process that you feel as though needs to be improved, I want to make sure that I understand. Are you talking about eligibility verification that allowed you to be qualified as a tier 1 applicant to begin with, or what happened subsequently after you were determined eligible as a tier 1 applicant to participate in phase 3 retail round 1? There are 2 processes in which we're determining folks eligible. First, are you eligible to participate in a program? And then are you eligible to participate in phase 3 retail round 1? I want to make sure that I'm getting a clear.
Yeah, I'm qualified for that. But then once that happened, then DCR, you said, okay, if you have property, then yes, you qualified for that round. Then you say, oh, you don't need no property. Then everybody got in there, and now it's just, it seemed like it should have been a point system that says, okay, if you've been living in
recording
the 8th,
in progress.
If you've been living in the 8th, then you get points. If you got a cannabis conviction as a juvenile, you get points. If you've been arrested and you just have an arrest, you get points. If you seem like now, if you don't even have an arrest, you kind of like don't get nothing, But in the first round, you do. You can still get a retail. But the second round you coming along, you can't get that. You don't qualify unless you have 2 things.
Got it. And that's fair. People who were able to get verified based on the original criteria, there was a different combination of eligibility criteria that they could meet. I do want to clarify, for phase 3 retail round 1, the current ordinance does require that folks have a California cannabis arrest or conviction, plus meet one of the other requirements. So right now you can participate in phase 3 retail round 2 if you have a California cannabis arrest or conviction, and you were either low income or you have lived in a disproportionately impacted area. But that's just to participate in round 2 for retail. What that means is that if you are a verified social equity applicant today, right now you can apply for delivery. Right now you can apply for distribution. Right now you can apply for testing and non-volatile manufacturing. As a previously verified social equity applicant, you can actually also apply for a PCN for retail activity. But the reality is that right now we're in the process of conducting the PCN pilot. And so we're not accepting new applications for PCN, but the ordinance would allow you to apply for a retail PCN based on the eligibility criteria. So there's no license type that you do not have access to as a previously verified social equity applicant. I want to make that clear. Even if you're a verified social equity applicant today, there's still a means for you to participate in every single license type, including retail. But that process is going to be through the PCN process. And we can spend time talking about the PCN process. I don't want to derail that, but the nuance is specifically about the eligibility criteria for round 2. So I appreciate your question, because I know that other applicants and stakeholders have had this question as well. So thank you, Mr. Edwards.
No problem. Thank you. And lastly, is you going to have anything for the social equity that we get the cannabis event license first? Is that anything in the air for that?
We
so we can
actually have a
raise some
prompt on
funds.
that
You
next.
know,
We
it'd be
have a
nice to
prompt.
raise some funds.
We have a prompt on that next. And so I know there's a few more questions we want to ask related to eligibility. And so I want to get to those. And then we're actually going to get right. That's the next one. So really quickly, if we can take these last few ones for, again, what do you guys want to see added or even excluded from certain from eligibility criteria? So let us know. And I think there are a few raised hands.
Yeah, I'll go to Ms. Keith for her comment on this. Ms. Keith.
Hi, I just want to say thank you all for doing this, Kat. Thank you for responding back and answering questions. I appreciate this moment in time. My suggestions are, I believe Ian mentioned the immediate family members. There's precedents in San Francisco, in Oakland, and Sacramento, the detriment that has been done to the direct family members that were left without that loved one in the household. So I'd say look at the language for those cities to add that into the qualifications for phase 2. I think race should definitely be a criteria, and there is precedence. I believe it's Ohio. I can find out, but there is language in law, and the city decided to go ahead and see if it would be challenged constitutionally, but they took that challenge. Also, it should be Los Angeles residents. If we're fighting about how many spots there are, there should be no way that somebody from Oakland has a license in the social equity program for retail currently. For a spot for someone like Walter could have taken that. So I think it's really important. Oakland doesn't do it. San Francisco doesn't do it. You have to have a cannabis arrest in that city, in those targeted areas. So there should be no reason why California residency is a qualification for a cannabis conviction or arrest. And the other thing, we're just talking about criteria. I believe you've eliminated tier 3 as an option, but that should not exist. The way the language was first created, that they were actually going to incubate, was great, but that fall off to allow them to pay for the licensing was a fail. So if it does still exist, that should be eliminated. And I'd say that should be replaced with a new tier 3. There should be cooperative licensing available. Kat, we asked you about this early on, where there was 4 or 5 of us that could have got together to fund a licensed social equity applicants, as opposed to having to be at the whim of these predatory and sharecropper agreements. So there should be a cooperative licensing option where multiple social equity applicants can band together and apply for a license, in which they would have less than 51%, but the total licensing, it would be 100% social equity owned. So I would highly consider going into this next round. We don't have too many solutions for predatory investors, and being able to co-op with other social equity applicants would be a viable solution. Thank you.
Hey, Laura, with that one, with that last one, can we copy it or somehow? And we'll also put that under the next licensing. When we go to the next section that's on licensing types and what we hope to see and exclusivity. I want to see if we could bring up, I guess, Tiana and Jason really quickly.
Before you move on, Raina, I did want to ask Ms. Keith a follow-up question. Ms. Keith, do you have recommendations on specific language that you've seen for the cooperative? I know that New York is supposed to have a framework. I believe that we could look there, but I'm curious to know, we've had this conversation internally about whether or not community members and stakeholders would be supportive if it was still the 51% threshold. And I think the concern on our end is that you would still have one potential non-social equity applicant owner who would have, who essentially might be able to kind of pick off one social equity applicant and then have a majority controlling interest. Would you be recommending that it would have to be 100% equity owned in order for it to, for folks to aggregate their equity interest? Or are you recommending aggregate at 51% or below?
No, I'm saying wholly owned by a cooperative of social equity qualified owners.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Keith, for that clarification.
Thank you.
So yeah, and I'm like, it's 6:35, and I know there's like a few more things that I know you guys want to get to because I hear the comments. So I want to take Tiana and Jason really quickly if we can, Pamela, and then let's go to our next prompts.
Okay, so Tiana.
There we go. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to add on to talking about the tier 3 qualifications. I think the idea that was brought up about, cooperative amongst the social equity applicants is a great idea. Kudos to that. I think also, as being a person, we can add in the extended family possibly into tier 3 also. If you want to keep the cannabis conviction personal to the person, the extended family can qualify you to tier 3, who's had cannabis relations or cannabis convictions. And, also with tier 3 applications, somehow find a way to, make, I guess, open it up to the social equity people. Yeah, so mostly I think excludes the extended family in the tier 3, and also being a resident of LA. So I actually forgot what I was going as I was listening, but that's the big deal for that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to go to the next prompt, which is, should others be included as a potential social equity applicant? And if so, who? I'll repeat that one more time. Should others be included as potential social equity applicants? And if so, who? We're going to take Pedro.
Yes. Yes, Pedro.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't think, as I forgot who was commenting at the beginning, and then I was listening to Daryl speak as well. I think first we got to take care of all us that's been sitting around and already been pre-qualified. There's many of us out there that the ones that this program was specifically designed for, but yet we're sitting here at our houses, or we're sitting and we're wondering, scratching our heads, being, when are we going to get a license? I've been in doing this for 20 years. I was one of back into 2000, 2005, you guys would not give us licenses. So we were doing this under collectives. I've got raided my house multiple times. I've had cops with vests and guns come to my house, come to my collective. And why? All I want, and it's like many people out there who have been convicted of a cannabis crime, is we just want to be able to do business legally. We want to be able for you to just give us our license and us to get on with our lives. Why? I don't understand so many, the first couple rounds, it wasn't just supposed to be for us. Well, I don't understand. Now we have other people, I understand that they want to get into it too, the business, but you have other people here now saying that they want to be, because they're family members, extended family members. And when is it going to end? First, nobody says, I understand that there's people and families, just like my family was affected when I was in jail because of cannabis, right? And there's nobody I could turn to back then, and there's still nobody I could turn to. But somehow I managed to float my way through, and here we are. But don't you think that we deserve the license first? All of us that's been convicted of cannabis crimes? I mean, that's what this whole thing was about. Like Daryl sitting there, like me, and I forgot another gentleman before because I couldn't see his video or his name, but technically that's what this is for. And then the last round, you're like, we need a place, you need to sign a lease. How many of us that have been convicted of a weed crime or of injustice have the money to go rent a place and have it sitting there? And still, how many of those people that rented place 15, 16 months ago are still paying rent and can't even do business yet?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know what, I do not mean to cut you off, but we have a lot more content and I want to make sure that we hear from a lot of different people. So here, thank you, sir, appreciate it. So here are a couple of the other questions I want you guys to think about, and then you guys can comment on these.
Pamela, let's go ahead and go to prompt number 2, to the next topic, because this one and the next one after, I think, are going to spark more conversation as well. And some of this has to do with, some of what we're hearing has to do with this next one around application types.
Okay, so you're gonna go to presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
So really quickly, I wanted to talk about verified social equity applicants receive certain benefits related to application processing. When certain requirements are met, they are eligible for priority access to retail and delivery licenses, priority license application processing, and priority license renewal processing. As such, individuals who are currently verified can participate in the following. Again, currently verified: priority application processing for manufacturing, distribution, and testing, retail PCN, and exclusive delivery application processing through January 1st, 2025. If you are currently verified social equity applicant, you have access to licensure through priority processing. DCR will be sharing additional information about getting verified based on the expanded criteria, either for phase 3 retail round 2 or other available programming as it becomes available. One thing we want to note, and this was actually said during the stakeholder comment period, is priority processing is different from expedited processing. Although the code allows for expedited processing should the department launch it, DCR has decided not to use this route because social equity applicants would create another pipeline in which the applicants could potentially be held up. So meaning you could be prioritized, but expedited, you would have to, if we do charge a fee, how would we be able to figure out how we manage and mitigate those people inside that fee pipeline? How do we make it equitable for those that then pay that expedited processing fee? And so I want to pass it over to Pamela. And I want Pamela, if you could read those bolded questions if you still have the prompts open.
Yeah, I got your note.
Cool, perfect. Thank you. And I'll let you and Laura take over. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to basically let you guys know what our different prompts and questions are, and feel free to speak upon any of them. So should license exclusivity, meaning only certain applicants can apply for certain delivery and retail licenses, be extended beyond 2025? Should the city expand exclusivity to additional license types? If you are a social equity applicant, why haven't you applied for specific licenses with exclusivity, as in delivery? And last, what additional license types would you like to see? So I'm going to call in a couple of people, but please feel free to comment on any of those. And if you need me to reread one, please let me know. So let's go to a person that we haven't heard from. How about Madison Stokely? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay. Shockley, by the way, thank you.
Oh,
sorry. So yes, I think there should be exclusive licensing for social equity, and it should be extended beyond 2025, which I think it currently is. Particularly considering we've had so many delays and haven't really been able to get into the market yet. And so we do need more runway. And then, it should be exclusive for new license types like consumption lounges, as well as cannabis events. Cannabis events would be a great low cost way for social equity folks to get into the industry and make an impact and grow quickly. So it would be important for us to have those licenses exclusively so we can get that jump start. And then I did just have one comment pertaining to a previous question, the social equity program eligibility verification. And it's not exactly verification, but I think that people who are already verified should be allowed to be incubated by current tier 3 tier 3 social equity corporations, I guess you would call them, because right now only phase 2 social equity folks can be incubated by those tier 3s, and currently a lot of the tier 3s are not incubating anybody, and instead they're paying a fee. So all of us folks who folks who are already verified but don't have opportunity for a retail license right now, or for other licenses, could be being incubated for cultivation by those tier 3s who currently have massive grows but aren't incubating any applicants.
Okay, thank you. And how about Mr. Toriengo? I know I'm saying that wrong. Alfred?
Yes, thank you. You got it right now. Thank you. I appreciate you and all of the wonderful people on the call this evening. I too agree with a lot of the sentiments that that Madison was just speaking on, and even Kika. Consumption. I really think that all of the license types should have some type of priority processing, and exclusivity we should extend our window and runway, as well as there should be exclusivity to retail, to consumption lounges, to event licensing. You know, like I said before, the bulk of this business is done in the micro side, where you actually manufacture and grow this product, you know. So it's really important that, you know, we have opportunity to get in there. And so that tier 3 model of getting us incubated, you know, helps us get more people involved, you know, and it's going to help us with the supply chain. That's so important right now, that we are a part of the supply chain, so we can create arm's length transactions within the social equity community as much as possible. That's going to help us valuations. That's going to help us grow businesses that can compete actually in the marketplace. And so it's really important that we look at it from that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Mr. McMillan?
Thank you. I just want, hold on one second. There we go. I also want to clarify about the expanded eligibility portion. I want it to be specific for direct family members, not extended or, you know, just direct immediate family members only. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Appreciate it. How about anyone else have any comment? How about we'll go back to Piero?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with what they were just saying, that I believe that the micro business licenses and you know, there should be exclusivity for social one equity applicants. They should get the first, you know, they should get the first roll of the dice, basically, because like I said, we're the ones that had to deal with the arrest records, not being able to get a job because of felony convictions, because of many things. You know, I'm sure many out there, just like myself, having cannabis convictions and on a record has limited us to many things in life, you know. And now it's retribution, basically. It's retribution for what? Now people can go anywhere and buy cannabis. Suppose it's medical, it helps people, but yet we what's happened to you know, the injustice that's been done to all the social equity applicants should, you know, we should be compensated for it, and they should be given the first try to certain types of licenses. And also, I just want to comment, when you said all licenses were available, retail fronts are not available no more to social equity applicants. Those doors have been closed, and they kind of they were only allowed about a year and a half ago, when we had to have the leases signed. And tell me, I personally wasn't going to go lease a place without knowing if I was going to get a place. How many people applied for social equity and applied for those licenses? And tell me how many people would put down that kind of money without knowing the future and knowing anything, you know? So I just wanted to say that, and it caught me off guard really quick, but I wanted to say that, you know, the social equity definitely should have the first shot and should be given the first chance.
And in that same vein, I have a quick follow-up, Ms. Smith, is for anyone, if you are a social equity or if you are currently verified as a social equity applicant, and you're not in any of the application processes, why haven't you applied for any of the specific licenses with exclusivity, such as delivery? So with that, now that delivery is open, you know, why haven't you chosen to take that route?
How about Mark Rivera? Do you have a comment regarding what you just heard? Mark Rivera. Looks like you might have dropped off. How about Ms. Keith? Do you have a comment about what you just heard?
Yeah, I had a comment to the initial question, but I'll respond back, because there's no support services. Mm-hmm. Because people don't have a pathway to education, because we don't know how to do it by ourselves, because there's nobody to call and get responses back from emails, because there's nowhere to go in 3 years. So I think, I mean, that's why we're sitting here on this phone, and it is past the licensing opportunity. So you get the opportunity to apply, but can you open your doors? Where is the check-by-check process of everything we need to do? Everything that costs? Where is the list of resources that tell us who are the best architects and where do we get support services from? That does not exist. So people are scared to apply. They don't know the pathway to apply. It is hard, even this grant application that y'all are doing. And I have somebody assisting me. We've had to go back 3 different rounds of responses at the same time that we're trying to open our doors or do other things. There are so many hoops and obstacles every time the ball changes and it switches, and you guys are not providing the assistance, not a video, right? Real live assistance and interaction for us to be able to understand the process. Because it's more than filling out the application, you have to understand the process. That's why we have
you always give me the leeway to the next prompt. I love it.
But right before I do, can I just address why I originally had my hand up before you asked that question for a recommendation? Because we need to change the language of priority processing. We don't have no priority processing. Phase 1 has priority over us. Their annual licenses, their temporary reviews, and all that have priority before you ever even review our application. Their application modifications go before us. We've never had priority. So I think the word needs to be changed, is my recommendation, that it be changed to expedited. There should be no fees for expedited. If you have the ability and the mechanisms to process a license expeditiously, if I pay you, you have the same processes to expedite social equity applications. And there should, that's the first. Please change that language to expedite it for social equity. The next recommendation is that there be a separate office of equity. Dr. Brown should have a staff, and she should only be reviewing equity applications. You guys haven't checked for contracts. All the way back from 2018, you haven't reviewed no contracts. The only thing that's the difference between social equity and the general applications is the social equity agreement. How could you not have reviewed them yet? That's what we need to be implemented. We need that assistance because we're getting strangled by these predatory investors that are holding us hostage, so we can't even apply. We can't even apply and put our application in because they're telling us unless we sign this agreement that they're not giving us the money to apply. We need real assistance, one-on-one assistance, and we need it now. Thank you so much. And I hope that led you to the next.
You know what, though, Ms. Keith, you always do. And I say that because you said you went into exactly what we were kind of going into next around what people need as far as assistance with applying. And that's why I asked that question, because it's good to know what are those holdups. And so I'm going to go into a little bit about our business licensing and compliance assistance. And the BLC program will provide social equity applicants with programming and training in the areas of state and local licensing requirements, commercial cannabis regulations, general business development, cannabis-specific business development, and workforce development. DCR has selected 5 vendors who will develop this curriculum. We are actively working with our vendors to create curricula with the expected rollout this summer. This will be the first iteration of the program that will be expanded over the coming year. And so we're about to get some great conversation about what it is you are looking for and what you need. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Ms. Smith and the MBI team.
Thank you. Okay, so here are some of the prompts under which you just heard Ms. Plummer say. What programming would you like to see from the BLC program? And should it be throughout the entire process, from interest to starting a business to opening and managing that business? Do you want to have BLC programming before or during the application process? How do you learn best? On-demand videos, live workshops, self-guided learning, or a combination of all 3? And as a follow-up, how much time would you devote to certain BLC programming? And last, what's the best way of receiving information about BLC programming? Email, phone, or text? So I'm going to take, I'm trying to see if I can get a person I haven't heard from. How about Mark Riviera? What is your comment regarding what you just heard?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as far as what you were saying, as far as the 3 different ways of helping people, I just want to make sure I understand correctly, because education is definitely one of the most important things that I feel a lot of the people are lacking. I think a lot of people, before even entering a social equity program, probably didn't even know what social equity even meant, the word. So I'm one of them. When I first heard of it, I thought it was something, like something out of a movie or, something to be a dream. And then also too, just like I heard a couple of the gentlemen say, all this is really about, the future and helping out the future social equity applicants. And I feel like, especially this BCL program or the programming we're speaking of should be, prioritized also to the people who all have been verified. Tier, I mean, I'm a tier 1, but at the end of the day, I mean, I look at it like we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to be part of something, bigger than what we originally have. The jobs, the low income thing, I completely understand that. I mean, that's probably why, I figured you guys made the system of the tier 1s. If not, then it should have just been, you're an applicant or you're not. But again, I believe that, it should be something as easy as like, walking someone, like training somebody, getting them by the hand in step A all the way to step Z, and making sure that you help them complete them. A lot of these section codes and, everything from the laws and everything going back and forth between the city and the DCR. It's just really confusing and something where, like, if you don't turn something in on time or you don't do something right, could cost you a lot of money and possibly end your chance at getting a license. So again,
let me ask you a follow-up. For you personally, do you think that you would prefer being able to go to on-demand videos where you can pick exactly what you want to learn about, or would you prefer to attend a live workshop?
I would think to have both of them, to have the live workshop, and if there was anything that I needed to kind of go back to and relate to, I would have access to those videos, or even somebody that I can rely on, because I know, like, once you actually apply and you get past a certain step, you're given the I'm not sure what it's called, but it's somebody who's assigned to you to kind of answer your questions directly and kind of help you. But I mean, there should be something like that as far as, again, just helping somebody, as simple as, if it's anything, where you're in need of something, like you go, if you're applying for any like welfare or something, or, anything where you're going or you lose your job, unemployment, something like that, somebody doesn't know what they're doing, but they get into it, if there's something wrong, something missing, then the unemployment contacts you, and vice versa. Before you know it, you're getting the unemployment that you need. In this case, I'm coming from applying in 2019. I think that for me, a lot of it was difficult because I did have 2 jobs. So it was hard to kind of go to the courts and now start digging out paperwork from like 10 years ago when I got arrested for some cannabis. So once I did that, then, it was like obviously a big deal. I literally had to go to downtown and get it from the building that's right down the street from the DCR. And it was just pretty much, for me, it took me literally like 2 days, because I kind of was going back and forth to different courthouses and stuff like that. So it wasn't easy just getting this information. And then
I understand. That makes sense. But, would you mind? Let me go. We'd love to hear from a couple of other people, if you would not mind.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you. We appreciate it. How about Terry Drea?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for what you're doing here. The answer to the question here, I think, what Kika and the last gentleman, I come from a farming background, and we've lost our farm, got our farm back, traditional corn, soybeans, and the thing, we realized we were losing so many farmers, they finally had to get the college extensions, Iowa State, Nebraska State, to go out there and assign kind of like a caseworker to say, we need to have these farmers successful, or there won't be any farmers anymore. So whether it be email or, on-demand video, I'm really looking for DCR to assign someone to Kika, to Madison, to whoever I see on the board here, to make sure that on a weekly basis, they're making sure that they not only have a pro bono attorney once they get there to a certain level. All these social equity people, if they're really serious about making sure they have a high success rate, They should have pro bono attorney from the get-go, pro bono accountant from the get-go, cash flow and the cash to help them be successful. We should be looking at their cash flow statement saying every week, what do these folks need to make sure they're going to be successful? I'm sorry, but having them do an on-demand video and everything that you're looking at here, I think it's going to fall short. If we're really serious, we gotta make sure that they got everything they need to be successful. If we don't, we're going to repeat what happened to the black farmers when they started out with a decent amount of farmland, and then look what happened. So many people lost it because of our own USDA tricked people into, not getting them enough loans. We gotta turn this around. Let's make sure these people are successful. Let's meet with them weekly. Are they short of cash? Why are they short of cash? They need an accountant? Let's keep them away from the predatory people. Let's really do it. And I think we can, but we got to really get serious about it. And it's got to be hands-on, weekly. What do they need? And let's get it done.
Gotcha. Thank you. How about, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to thank the gentleman for his comment. And I want to make sure what I heard was kind of a case manager. I want to make sure that that's reflected in the comment as well. It seemed like not just providing those resources, but kind of getting a case manager to help assign folks and help walk folks through the different services that are available. Mr. Dre, if that was your comment, I wanted to make sure that that's reflected.
And let's make sure that's added to the board as well, please, Laura. A case manager of sorts, yeah.
Case manager, but the case manager and us as the folks here in the city, we should be responsible to making sure that person is cash flow positive and is successful, and be listening to whatever things come about. If they're locked into a predatory contract, we should be helping them get out of it. If they're in a bad cash flow situation because the city delayed, we should be, it's not only assigning them a case manager, it's like we should be looking out of 100 people. What are their needs and how come they're not? We got to get these people a success rate. Farming is hard enough the way it is. We're asking people to really do a hell of a task here without just really being 100%. We just can't go out there and assign them somebody. We got to make sure that case manager has got to make sure that person is successful by cash flow. If they're not cash flowing, they're not successful.
What I also hear is kind of a needs assessment, regular needs assessment to be conducted so that we have the status that can help move folks to the next point. So I want to make sure that that's captured as well. Thank you for your comment.
Okay, and how about Ms. Denise Mejia?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, how are everybody? My name is Denise Mejia, and I am one of the founders with the International Cannabis Businesswomen Association. I have just a few recommendations here on the topic of the workshops that you're developing. I think it's very important that we provide those business management type pathways to people to understand how to run and operate their businesses. A lot of people only know certain areas in the field, but they don't know about employment law or business law. They're not business savvy. So a lot of these opportunities for a lot of these business entrepreneurs don't have those skills and don't have those resources. So developing a general management pathway or a human resources management pathway, operations management pathway, and little things like this help, because that will give people structure and internal instruction how to manage and operate their business from A to Z.
Uh-oh, did you cut off?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got cut off. No, I just found that if we can provide those resources for people, it would be very helpful for people to properly manage not only their operations, but their employees and their staff. I think that's one of the biggest turnkey situations that people have with the business management side of it. So if you can implement something where those workshops implement those concepts, it will help people properly operate and manage their operations as well.
Gotcha. Thank you. Ms. Plummer, how many more would you like to take on this particular question?
I know that it's currently 7:05, and I know there's so much that we still have to go to. I want to encourage everybody to please drop anything, comments you have right now for this business licensing income. Actually, let's go to, I want to like Tiana speak really quickly. I think you had your hand up, but then let's go to the next prompt, topic 4, but we're going to wrap at 7:15.
Okay, I don't see Tiana's hand up. Tiana, raise your hand again. I don't see you.
Only if you, yeah. I know she had it up for a while. That was why. Sorry.
Maybe. Oh, I see you. Okay, hold on. Tiana, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to kind of come in and comment on also and make recommendations on this when it comes to being said, like, why haven't we applied for the other licenses available besides retail with delivery, manufacturing, distribution? A lot of it does go into education. Like, I don't know anything about distribution or manufacturing. Why would I apply for that license? There's no way I can get support. I don't even know how to go about getting support or, anything about that. And then also with the licensing, I think there should be maybe if we can't, when it comes to fees, maybe a deferral fee payment system. So you can actually apply, get the education you need, and do the things and go through the process. And then as the business comes along and you get your license, then you can pay the fees when you start making money and work that into the business plan. But having to pay fees up front and pay all this stuff, we're not, getting, when it comes to getting financial backing or raising capital, if it's not a retail store, we're SOL. Nobody cares, especially if they ask you the first thing, well, do you know anything about manufacturing? Absolutely not. Well, then why would I apply for a manufacturing license? That does nothing for me. Of course, when it comes to compliance and holding whether any license, we just need more education and more support so we can actually go about applying for these licenses that are available to social equity. They're being lost on us because we don't know what to do with them. And we can't raise capital for them for that very reason.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine our prompts 4 and 5, because we actually have 6. It's number 6. I think I kind of have a handle on how people feel they want more pro bono legal services. So we're going to combine 4 and 5 and title the section more of a financial assistance section, because we need to move through it. And I know these 2 things are topics that people would be interested in. And then again, you're always welcome to please leave your comments in the chat and or go to the comment box. And at this point, I am loving everything that we're hearing about that your guys are recommending. So even if you need to email me, I've dropped my email. I'll drop my email. Drop it. Don't use it all the time because we got to still reply to other people, but drop it in there. We want your comments as much as possible. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to talk about some means of financial assistance and get your thoughts on those. So Laura, just FYI, we can do these all in the number 4. We'll start with the stuff that's in red, and then I'll let you know when we're going to go over to green, because I do want that to stand out in green. And so we're going to kind of break this up into 3 things: fee deferral program, fee waiver program, and then we're going to talk about the seed grant program. So in April 2021, Council approved DCR's rules and regulations for the fee deferral and fee waiver program. To date, DCR has made $250,000 available to verified social equity applicants through the fee deferral program. Additional fee deferrals may be made available as resources allow. DCR will make an additional $650K available for fee waivers. These fee waivers may be only applied to social equity application verification fees for individuals who submit complete verification applications. And so more details are coming for that. But before we go to the whiteboard, I do want to remind everybody that we do have a financial grant program as well. It's called the Social Equity Entrepreneur Grant Program. And it is launched in April 2021. And the Seed Grant Program utilizes funding from the Cannabis Equity Grant for California for local jurisdictions. And we got $6 million towards the Seed Grant Program for funds made available through those 2 grants. And so what I want to ask now for Ms. Smith to do is if we could, and let me know. I actually think it might be easier if you want me to take over this part, because I know we're moving kind of fast. And so I'm sorry, but Laura, we are going to work this because I want to hear people's thoughts. So thinking about a fee waiver program, do you think that social equity applicants should have their fees deferred, which means they got to pay it back over time, or completely waived? So if everybody could lower your hand, what I think would be cool is if you lower your hand while I ask these other questions, if you think that you would prefer a fee waiver program over a fee deferral program, raise your hand. Again, a fee deferral program is when you would have to be paid back over time. But if it was a fee waiver program, it would be completely waived. So I want you to raise your hand, please, if you would prefer a fee waiver program over a fee deferral program. Again, fee waiver, not paid back. If that's what you would prefer, please raise your hand. And as you guys are raising your hand, if you would prefer a fee waiver or over a fee deferral program, I want to let you know that under the current fee waiver program, as I just mentioned, DCR is only able to apply that fee waiver program to the payment of eligibility verification fees. So should this be expanded to include other required fees? Or should it be limited to certain applicants? So really quickly, we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
13.
13 hands. And I know there's some that didn't, so I'll try to count those as well in the interim. So we know 13. So that's actually probably the majority because people aren't voting. And then you have some of our administrators. So we'll go through and look and see and cross compare, but it looks like the majority of people would prefer a fee. So no, Tiana and Jason says fee deferral. So there is more opportunity for our rent. If it's deferred, we will just get more of, we'll just get more of the same problem we have now, who gets / deserves the waiver, which goes to the point of the next question that we were asking, which I'll now let Ms. Smith kind of take over and back to Laura's. Do you think currently under the fee waiver program, it's only applied to eligibility verification? Is there other things it should be applied to? And also, should it be limited to certain types of applicants, or should it be, open to all types of applicants? So like phase 3 retail round 1 and delivery applicants, or certain, people who are in certain phases. And so if you still have a comment on that, feel free to keep your hand raised and I'll let Ms. Smith take over and pick up from a few people. I think Callie Kim is a new person that we haven't heard from quite yet.
Yes, Callie Kim, what's your comment? You might have to unmute yourself. Actually, she put her hand down. I think she was just responding to your question. So right now, the only hand that's up is Madison Shockley.
Yes. So the financial piece of this is really the most crucial for all of us as social equity applicants. And it's the reason a lot of folks haven't succeeded this far. The fact that there are fees to begin with and the amount of the fees right away are outside of our personal income. We had to be low income just to apply. So that fact alone means that we have to get outside outside money. And that puts us in a position where you have to know how to raise money on favorable terms. And people who are low income and haven't had exposure to startup business fundraising, it's very unlikely that they'll know how to do that. And that's why many people end up in predatory contracts. So that's the first thing that like any business programming should address. And all social equity applicants need access to startup business fundraising skills. And once you do that, you learn how to get money on favorable terms, because otherwise, even if you get an opportunity to apply for a retail license, if you had to sign a predatory agreement a year and a half ago just to get in that position, well, it ends up being that usually when you sign a predatory agreement, you end up falling out with your business partner at some point down the line. And so even if that's why you're seeing so few people who have gotten the 200 retail stores actually be able to get to the point where they can apply. Out of 200, less than 60 have submitted any paperwork. That's because the other 140 are in predatory agreements. They've fallen out with their investor, and now they don't have any money. and they can't find another investor because they're in an agreement with somebody that they have a dispute with that will not let them go. So they're kind of dead in the water. So all these problems stem from knowing how to get the appropriate funds to even navigate the process. And so the fees are the first hurdle that we run into. And that's usually where we start getting into trouble without any assistance.
Madison, can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure, please.
One of the things that I'm trying to get input from stakeholders on is that primarily right now there are three different ways that at least the policy allows us to provide financial assistance to social equity applicants, either through fee deferral, fee waiver, or through the financial grant program. Now, the reality is that both the fee waiver and the fee deferral program only address financial barriers associated with fees. But with the grant program, there's flexibility and folks can use that financial assistance for things other than fees. I'm curious to know if there is a general sentiment or recommendation that we should maybe even eliminate things like the fee waiver, fee deferral program if we're able to pour more resources into things like the financial grant program, because then there's flexibility in those dollars and social equity applicants can pick and choose how they spend those dollars. I know that folks may have different opinions about it, but would you rather have the flexibility in a grant program and then be able to apply those funds for things other than fees? Or would you rather see the segmentation where we're splitting resources, some of which are flexible, others of which are going to be limited to fees only?
Yeah, excellent question. No, so the grant is paramount because there may be costs that you have before even getting to the fees. Actually, when you're developing your business plan, you need access to a CPA who knows the numbers you have to get involved in. That alone costs you 5 to 10 grand, right? And so, yeah, having a large amount of grant, because I know you guys have been asking, like, would we prefer a small amount of grant money or a large amount of loan money? We need a large amount of grant money, right? And that way we can add that with the technical assistance that will show people how to use that money. And then we can start jumping over these hurdles one after another with no problem, because we're not having problems coming up with the money to do it. So yeah, absolutely. The grant money is paramount over fee waivers or fee deferrals.